In this session, we'll understand about shells, subshells and orbitals. So in the atomic structure, we have seen three particles, basic particles. They are protons, neutrons and electrons. So the yellow part, it is nucleus where protons and neutrons are there and the electrons are around the nucleus. So now how to define shells or how to understand shells. So the electrons in an atom are arranged in the shells that surround the nucleus. So when n is equal to 1, it refers K shell, n is equal to 2, it refers L shell, n is equal to 3, it refers M shell, n is equal to 4, it refers N shell. Here, small n represents the principal quantum number. The maximum number of electrons in any shell is given by 2n square. So if we consider capital K shell, then in that case n value is 1, then we have number of electrons only 2. Means in K main shell only 2 electrons can maximum number of electrons. And when n is equal to 2, it represents capital L shell which has 8 electrons. The working has been done here. And when n is equal to 3, it has 18 electrons which represents M shell. And when n is equal to 4, it represents N shell which contains 32 electrons. Now coming to the shells. Shells have subshells and subshells have orbitals. So up to now we have seen shells. What are the different shells? We have seen K, L, M and N. These are the main shells. Now coming to the subshells. So what are the subshells here? S, P, D and F. These are the subshells. So in each shell we have told we have subshells. So in each shell how many shells will reside, we will see in detail. So when n is equal to 1, it is K shell, then we have only one subshell, that is 1s. And when n is equal to 2, it is L shell and we have two subshells, they are 2s and 2p. Now when n is equal to 3, it represents M shell, where we have subshells 3, they are 3s, 3p and 3d. And when n is equal to 4, it represents N shell which has or subshells 4s, 4p, 4d and 4f. So these are the subshells which are in the main shells. So now coming back again here, we will write. So what are the different subshells we have? S, P, D and F. So these are the main shells and these are the subshells. Now coming to the orbitals. So what is orbital? This is a region of subshells where probability of finding electrons are maximum. Means the regions of the subshells where we will find electrons maximum, that region is termed as orbitals. So now what are the different orbitals? We will see. The different orbitals are S, P, D orbitals. So in XYZ plane if we consider, then in S subshell we have only one orbital, that is S orbital. And in P subshell we have three orbitals, that is along x-axis, that is Px, and along y-axis, that is Py, along z-axis, that is Pz. So these are the three orbitals in the P subshell. Now coming to the D orbitals, there are 5 orbitals. So what are those? That is D, XY, D, YZ, and D, ZX. Next, D x square minus y square and D z square. So these are the different orbitals. So once again, in the S subshell we have only one orbital, that is S, and in P subshell we have three orbitals, that is Px, Py, Pz, and again in D subshell we have 5 orbitals. They are dxy, dyz, dzx, and dx square minus y square and dz square. So these are the different orbitals. Now shapes of the orbitals. So the S orbital shape is spherical, P orbital it is dumbbell, D orbital it is double dumbbell. So the figures are like this. So the shape of S orbital is spherical and the P orbitals, they are dumbbell shape in the x-axis Px, y-axis Py, and the z-axis it is Pz. Now in the case of D orbitals, they are double dumbbell. So there are 5 orbitals are there. What are those? dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square and dz square. It is about orbitals. So again at a glance we will see. So shells, we have subshells. In each subshells we have again orbitals. So what are the shells we have seen? K, L, M and N. And what are the subshells we have seen? S, P, D, F. And coming to the orbitals, what we have seen? They are S, Px, Py, Pz. That is in the case of P subshell. And next in the D subshell we have D, xy, dyz, dzx, d x square minus y square and d z square. So these are the different orbitals. So K, L, M, N represents the main shells, and in that main shells we have subshells S, P, D, F, and again that subshells we have seen orbitals S, Px, Py, Pz, like that. So this is about shells, subshells and orbitals. Thank you.